Hi everyone, it's Taylor here, and today we're going to make a set of thank you cards featuring a unique masculine color combination. I'll be using the Big Thanks stamp set that features 2 large thanks sentiments and the phrases to go along with them. I also have the coordinating dies for that stamp set, and I'll be using the sentiment strips dies to cut out the phrases, along with the framed script thanks die as well. I have our mini strips thanks add-ons, which feature those additional phrases to add on to the word thanks, and they can be cut out with our mini strips die. I'll be using the Playful Plaid background and Ticks and Tacks background, along with the Easy Strips 1/4 inch die to build some fun striped patterns on the cards. I have our heavyweight A2 card bases. These are top fold, pre-scored and pre-cut for you in our beautiful 110-pound cardstock. I'll be using mulled wine and honey ink, along with VersaMark, my powder tool, and white embossing powder. And then, as always, I'll be using my foam sticky strips. I'm starting off by cutting all of these colors with the 1/4 inch Easy Strips die. I have oyster, honey, mulled wine, poppy seed, and olive. You'll notice that I don't have a full sheet of cardstock to cover the entire die for all of these colors, and that's because this is a great way to use up scrap. I knew I didn't need a full sheet of cardstock to cut these out from, so I have different lengths of strips that I'll be building this pattern with so that I could use up those scraps. I cut out that framed script thanks die 6 times, and now I'm using one of our sticky sheets and applying that down to a piece of cardstock that is sized to fit behind the frame script thanks die cut. I'll be building the first pattern horizontally, and then the second pattern I'll build in a diagonal stripe using those 1/4 inch Easy Strips. Once the pattern is built, I'll take those 6 frame script thanks die cuts and adhere them on top of each other, so I have 2 pieces that each are made up of 3 layers. This gives your sentiment a little bit more stability and just a little bit of dimension to your card as well. Then I adhered those down on top of the patterns and used my scissors to cut the excess strips around the outside. In addition to using the frame script thanks, I also wanted to show an idea that uses the sentiment from the Big Hello set. I have a piece of mulled wine cardstock that I've conditioned with my powder tool, and I'm stamping that sentiment along with a note of in VersaMark ink over the mulled wine cardstock. I'm heating that with white embossing powder, and then I can use the coordinating die to cut out the word thanks. I also have the coordinating sentiment strip die to cut out the words a note of that I'll place above the thanks. After sending those through the die cut machine, I'm going to set them aside while I use the mini strips thanks add-ons to emboss on olive cardstock. Again, I've conditioned my cardstock with the powder tool, place that stamp over the top, and then inking with VersaMark ink. These additional phrases can be put either before or after the word thanks. So we have thanks so very much, thanks for your support, you're amazing, thanks, or my favorite, you're great, I'm grateful. So now that I have all those sentiments cut out, I'm going to bring in the 2 background stamps. First, I have honey cardstock with the Playful Plaid background. I'm going to do a tone on tone, so I'm using honey ink over the top of the honey cardstock, and using my Just Press tool to make sure that I get even pressure across the lid of my MISTI. Next, I have mulled wine cardstock with mulled wine ink and the Ticks and Tacks background for a tone-on-tone look. So now you can see that I have all of my pieces gathered, and I'm just going to do some cutting and assembly. So I'm cutting 2 inches off of both of these background pieces that I stamped previously, and I'm going to use the larger piece on the cards that I'll be creating. So after cutting that 2 inches off, I'm going to take my heavyweight A2 card bases. As I mentioned, they're already scored for me, but it's great to use a bone folder to just reinforce that score as you fold the card together in half. I'm going to glue that larger piece to the bottom portion of the card, and then we can take the thanks die and pop it up over the top. I decided to add another strip of color between the background and the white layer, so I chose olive for the layer that has the honey stamped on it, and then for the other card I'm going to be using the honey cardstock against the mulled wine. So I cut those at 4 inches to match up with the background pieces that I already stamped, and then just adhering them flush with that piece. Now I'm going to take my 1x3 strips, which fit just great on the back of these thanks die cuts, and I'm going to adhere those down with a little extra phrase. I have thanks for your kindness and thanks, you're great, I'm grateful. I decided since I had so many leftover strips that I wanted to build one more pattern, so I cut this piece down to 4 inches, and then I'm going to go ahead and build that pattern. This time starting again with the honey and doing this vertical pattern, as I'll end up turning this on its side so that it reaches vertically up and down on my card. As you're building these patterns with the easy strips, you want to make sure that each layer is flush with the layer before it so that you get a nice seamless pattern. Then just flip your piece over and trim off the excess strips. I'm using another heavyweight A2 card base, and I'm going to adhere that piece with tape runner so that the strips are vertical on my card. Then I have a poppy seed layer that I place to separate that from the white card base. I'll be using my sticky strips to add to the back of the thanks sentiment. It's great because there are some little spaces, and these foam sticky strips are perfect for adhering small sentiments. So now I have a sentiment that says, a note of thanks for your support. I love how this set turned out, and it could be done in so many different color combinations. I hope you learned something new today, and you can find all of these products at the Tailored Expressions web store at tailoredexpressions.com.